Prefect Salandra crouched behind the shattered remains of what had once been the council chamber of New Axiom, her elegant silver skin marked with burns and debris. Around her, the survivors of the Valdorian colony huddled in terrified silence as the thunderous footsteps of their attackers echoed through the ruined city streets. "How many left?" whispered Administrator Kren, his forearms cradling a wounded child from his species. "Perhaps 300 civilians still alive in the shelters," Salandra replied, her voice barely audible above the distant roar of destruction. "The harvester machines have been systematically eliminating everyone they find." The harvesters, mechanical monstrosities from the void between galaxies, had arrived without warning 3 days ago. Their ships had descended like a metallic plague, disgorging walking factory complexes that consumed everything in their path. Buildings, vegetation, people, all raw materials for their endless hunger. "Any response to our distress signals?" Kren asked, though they both knew the answer. Salandra checked her emergency transmitter one final time. "The Galactic Defense Force says they're monitoring the situation. The Confederation fleet is engaged elsewhere. The hegemony considers us outside their protection zone." She set the device down with finality. "We're alone." The Valdorian colony had always been a peaceful settlement. Artists, philosophers, and scientists who had chosen this distant world specifically to avoid the conflicts that plagued the galaxy's central systems. They had no military, no weapons beyond ceremonial pieces, no experience with warfare beyond academic study. "The underground shelters won't hold much longer," reported Engineer This Ease, emerging from a maintenance tunnel with soot covering her bioluminescent patches. "The harvesters have started deep scanning operations. They'll find the remaining civilians within hours." Salandra felt the weight of command crushing down upon her. 300 souls, all that remained of a colony that had once housed 50,000 beings from a dozen different species. And she was powerless to save them. A new sound echoed across the devastated city, a high-pitched whine that seemed to come from the upper atmosphere. Through the gaping hole in the chamber's roof, Salandra saw streaks of fire cutting through the orange sky like falling stars. "Meteor shower?" Kren suggested hopefully, though they all knew the planet had been cleared of such hazards decades ago. The streaks of fire weren't meteors. They were drop pods. Hundreds of them, falling through the atmosphere in perfect formation before deploying retro thrusters that brought them to controlled landings throughout the city. Each pod was roughly the size of a small building, armored like a battleship, and as soon as they touched down, they split open like mechanical flowers. What emerged made Salandra's breath catch in her throat. Humans, but not the diplomats or scientists she'd encountered in galactic forums. These were warriors in powered armor that made them look like walking siege engines. Each figure stood nearly 3 meters tall in their mechanical suits, carrying weapons that seemed designed to level buildings. "Citizens of New Axiom," came a voice broadcasting on all frequencies, speaking in perfect galactic standard with the characteristic accent of the Sol system. "This is Colonel Jackson of the Terran Marine Corps, 5th Orbital Assault Regiment. We received your distress call. Sorry, we're late." Salandra fumbled for her communicator. "Colonel Jackson, this is Prefect Salandra. We weren't expecting anyone to respond. Ma'am, when someone calls for help, Marines come running. What's your current situation?" "We have approximately 300 survivors in underground shelters. The harvester machines control the surface and are conducting deep scanning operations to locate remaining civilians." "Copy that, Prefect. Recommend you keep your people underground for the next 20 minutes or so. Things are about to get loud." What followed redefined Salandra's understanding of warfare. The humans didn't try to negotiate with the harvesters or establish defensive perimeters. They attacked with a coordinated fury that seemed to channel the rage of their entire species. Heavy weapons teams took positions on rooftops, and began systematically destroying the mechanical giants with armor-piercing rockets. Assault squads used jump packs to leap between buildings, targeting the harvester control nodes with surgical precision. But it was their tactical coordination that truly amazed her. Each Marine seemed to know exactly where every other Marine was at all times. They moved through the city like a single organism, creating overlapping fields of fire that trapped the harvesters between multiple threat vectors. "Prefect Salandra," came Colonel Jackson's voice over the communicator. "We're reading life signs in Shelter Complex 7. Are those your people?" "Yes, Colonel. But that complex is surrounded by at least 6 harvester units." "Not anymore," came the matter-of-fact reply. Through her tactical display, Salandra watched in amazement as the Marines simply erased the harvester presence around Shelter 7. The machines that had terrorized her people for 3 days were methodically dismantled by warriors who treated citywide combat like a routine training exercise. "Colonel," she transmitted, "how many Marines did you deploy?" "This drop?" "About 800. "Why?" 800 soldiers against an invasion force that had overwhelmed an entire colony world. It should have been suicide. "Colonel, we had 50,000 people when the harvesters arrived. How are 800 Marines succeeding where an entire colony failed?" Jackson's response carried the weight of hard experience, "Ma'am. Respectfully, your people were colonists. We're Marines. We don't fight to survive, we fight to win. And where we come from, overwhelming force is just another way of saying standard operating procedure." Within 18 minutes of their arrival, the Marines had eliminated every harvester unit on the planet's surface. Within 30 minutes, they had established secure perimeters around all shelter complexes. Within an hour, they were escorting survivors to impromptu medical stations and beginning reconstruction operations. As Salandra watched human engineers deploying prefabricated structures with the same efficiency their Marines had shown in combat, she realized something profound about the species the galaxy called Deathworlders. They hadn't just responded to a distress call, they had treated the salvation of complete strangers as a matter of professional pride. The colonists had thought no one would come to their aid. Instead, Earth's warriors had literally fallen from the sky.